Our brain is a high-maintenance organ. It consumes around 20% of the energy produced by the body, while it only represents 2% of the weight of an adult human. No surprise that in the process of evolution, we had to find a way to optimize the brain's energy consumption, and that's exactly why we need habits. We can compare habits with an autopilot mode. Your brain turns on autopilot mode and you start doing some default actions without thinking and making decisions on what exactly you should do and how you should do that. And that saves you a lot of energy. Imagine that every time when you brush your teeth, that's an example of habit, you would start asking yourself, how should I do that? When do I do that? Do I use an electric toothbrush or manual? Which toothpaste should I use? Do I start with my upper or lower jaw? Should I brush it at all, or it's not that necessary? If that's what you would be doing 2 times a day every day, that would be a huge waste of energy. Instead, at some point in your life, you came up with a habit of brushing your teeth at some specific moment of the day, using the brush you have, doing it in a pretty much same manner every time. And that's great, because you can use the remaining energy on something else. What is also great about habits is that normally they don't depend on motivation that much. You don't need to plan to brush your teeth, you don't talk yourself into it to boost your motivation. You simply find yourself brushing your teeth very same time in the morning every day. Because that's a habit. And that means that in the most cases, your healthy habits stay by your side even when motivation and willpower faded away. There's a famous quote from Samuel Smiles, Scottish author and government reformer. You've probably heard it. Sow a thought and you reap an act. Sow an act and you reap a habit. Sow a habit and you reap a character. Sow a character and you reap a destiny. Neuroscience was not that developed back in 19th century when he wrote it, but his understanding of the role of habits is pretty close to what current researchers think. One research suggests that a significant part of our daily behaviors, as much as 40% of it, consists of habits. Thus, conscious adoption of useful habits may literally change up to 40% of your daily routines, your lifestyle, and in the end of the day, your personality. So how do we actually adopt new habits? In a nutshell, a habit forms when 3 following elements are in place repeatedly: trigger, action, and reward. Trigger, also known in literature as a cue or anchor, is a feeling, event, or object that serves as a reminder for making a habit. It turns on your autopilot mode and you start performing the habit. For example, the feeling of bad breath in the morning reminds us that we need to brush our teeth. The notification sound on your phone reminds you of checking WhatsApp or Facebook messages. Another example may be craving something sweet when you are watching your favorite series or TV show in the evening. If you often eat something sweet when watching TV, turning the TV on may become a trigger. In other words, it will serve as a reminder, provoking the desire to grab a chocolate bar or a cookie from the shelf. A reward is something seemingly positive that appears as a result of habitual action, something that your brain finds beneficial. In fact, it's not always truly beneficial for you, like eating cookies every evening while watching TV. But our brain doesn't know the difference in many cases, because the evolution of brain takes much longer than evolution of food industry. Our brains have evolved to make us feel good when we do things that help our survival. For example, when we consume something sweet, like a cookie, taste receptors send signals to the brainstem, which results in the release of dopamine. And that makes us feel good. So-called brain's reward system gets activated, which reinforces the desire to consume that cookie or other sweet food again and again. Thus, sugar serves as a reward your brain is getting from your habit of eating cookies while watching TV. After you repeated eating cookies when watching TV and getting sugar as a reward for a number of times, your brain formed a link between watching TV and the reward. And your habit of eating cookies starts happening on autopilot as soon as you switch on the TV. Now it became subconscious, as it has imprinted in your neural pathways. So, trigger is the first step. The action is the second, and the reward is the third step in the habit algorithm. It's also sometimes called habit loop, because every repetition of those 3 steps helps the habit to get imprinted in your brain, increasing the chances that you will repeat the action again as soon as you come across the trigger. I hope now you understand why a common belief that you simply need to repeat an action for 21 days to create a habit is not fully accurate. Just repeating an action without recreating the context, or now we may say trigger, and without showing your brain a reward won't get you far. Moreover, recent research has shown that on average it takes 66 days to adapt new habit, and that number can be very different from few days to hundreds of days, depending on the complexity of habit and individual specific. To sum it up, in order to create a habit, you need to define a proper trigger, perform an action, give yourself a reward. And you need to repeat that sequence enough times to make it get imprinted in your brain so that it would become an autopilot behavior or simply a habit. In next few videos, we'll be looking at each step in much more details to help you design the habits you want.